How's it going, guys? It's Cass. A lot of you guys have been asking what to do after hitting level 50 on the Poison Concoction character for Krangled. And currently I am level 72, and for this video specifically, before we get too far into it, I'm trying to do this in one take, so I might ramble, I might mess up, that's going to happen. My goal is to get this out to you guys as fast as I can, and also not lose a bunch of ranks while trying to make content. So for this build, I stumbled upon something pretty interesting early on. If you haven't seen the first video, we found that Profane Bloom was on Trickster. After I finished Merc Lab last night, I also saw that we get Unstable Infusion, and we also get Toxic Delivery. So this brought me to a pretty interesting idea of playing some form of a crit-based poison build using Perfect Agony down here, once I get to it obviously, and using some power charge stacking. So up here we get an extra power charge, and down here we get an extra power charge, as long as I'm not getting trolled by the passive skill tree, although the one that most of the people have been using hasn't had many issues since last night, so that's pretty good. So basically what the goal of this build is going to be is it's going to be kind of similar to the original poison helix perfect agony builds, where you're just getting a decent amount of crit chance and you're turning that crit chance or your crits into, or your crit multi into damage over time multi. Since we have access to Toxic Delivery, we get a lot of crit chance just from stacking poisons, and since we get access to Unstable Infusion, we get a ton of power charges as well. Top of that, we have Profane Bloom, so we get very, very good clear speed. So basically how this is going to work is fairly simple. I'll walk you guys through this guide here, but I will also have a path of building. Now, disclaimer, in that path of building, it's not going to tell you the nodes that you're actually taking, okay? It is literally just a guide that you will follow on your specific tree. If the node doesn't match, that's how it's supposed to be, okay? The masteries aren't going to be taken in there. So you're going to have to either come back to this portion of the video where I talk to you about the pathing, or just follow the guide and remember the masteries that I take. Okay? Disclaimer over. What you're going to do is you're going to start by following this normal path here, okay? You're going to start following this path here, then you're going to go down to replenishing remedies. At this point, you should be switching to Poison Concoction. The early levels on Caustic Arrow, if you mule from a Deadeye, or if you're playing Cobra Lash, are not going to feel that great, okay? But after that, once you actually get access to Poison Concoction, it's going to be much better, okay? Poison Concoction is incredibly strong, especially if you get a 3-link early on your chest piece or boots or on a shield or something like that. Now, after you get replenishing remedies, you're going to move over to field medicine, get that too. You're going to come back up here to get Heart of Oak, and then to get this Flask Mastery. This is the mastery we're using on the Flask Mastery. Life Flask gain 1 charge every 3 seconds, Mana Flask gain 1 charge every 3 seconds. This helps you basically always have flash charges for Poison Concoction, get the extra damage mods. You're going to skip this side first, and you're going to move up this way. You're going to go all the way through these nodes here. These nodes don't really give you much until you get to this point here. If you need more dex, take this node, and then take the Chaos Dot multi-node after the fact. If you still need more dex, take this node. Then you're going to go up here, get Hunter's Gambit. You can skip the reservation nodes early, but once you get access to more auras, you're going to want to take these. Then you're going to move up into this area here. You get proficiency, so you get a lot of dex. Then you get a Curse Mastery, okay? This Curse Mastery is very important. This gives you 20% chance to poison, and will basically make it so hopefully, once you get a few more chance to poison nodes on the tree, you won't have to run Herald of Agony. But for the most part, you're going to run Herald of Agony until like the mid-70s, okay? How you want to use this, though, is very specific. You want to use Despair, but you want to also use Blasphemy with Despair, so you aren't constantly casting it. Blasphemy does is it changes Despair into an aura, so then you just always have this whenever you're close to enemies. From that point on, you're going to move over to Purity of Flesh, and then into Graceful Assault. This will give you access to Onslaught on Kill, which is very good, okay? Then you're going to move up into Resourcefulness. This, honestly, you might be able to skip a lot of this stuff if you're feeling fine on taking this, although having access to 5% life and 10% max ES is pretty good, and getting access to another 5% node is also pretty good. For a lot of these jewel sockets, you're not going to have jewels early, so just skip them, okay? So then once we move up here and grab this stuff, you're going to move down to this area here. Just follow the road that you're going to. You don't want to get these nodes right away, okay? You don't need the power charge nodes. You don't need infused. You don't need any of this stuff. You're going to skip these for now. You're going to grab these after you get power infusion. I literally don't even have these on my character yet. I'm probably not going to get them until the mid 80s. You're going to move down here and you're going to get Clever Thief. The reason why Clever Thief is really nice is because it will allow you to no longer have to use a mana flask, which makes it just significantly much better for quality of life. If you don't care about quality of life, you can skip this and just use a mana flask. Now, the big thing that I wanted to talk about in this video, I don't know if Whispers of Doom is going to be able to be allocated with 2 blacks and an amber. If it is, it's going to be incredibly strong, and it's going to make it so you can skip all of this stuff here, and you can have Temp Chains. Temp Chains is one of the best curses for poisons. You definitely want to have it along with Despair. So, if we can anoint Whispers of Doom this cheap, that's great. If we can't anoint Whispers of Doom this cheap, I think it's 3 golds or a gold and 2 silvers or something like that. It's very expensive. In SSF, you're probably not going to be able to get to that point, especially not in this league. So you can still path to this point. What I would suggest doing is pathing to this point later in the progression of the character. You don't really need 2 curses until you're fighting bosses. Also, with that said, the goal of this league is to get XP. The goal of this league is not to farm bosses, not to farm shapers, not to farm any of that stuff. So this build is not going to be a bosser. This build is going to hopefully be able to kill the Quest Exarch and the Quest Eater. I'm sure it will kill it fine. And honestly, I might not even kill Maven. It just depends on how I feel about map sustain. Alright, after we get over to this point, if you decide to go Whispers of Doom later, then do that. Okay? But the main thing is just getting to Clever Thief. Once we get past Clever Thief, okay, you're going to go back down and you're going to start progressing on this side of the tree. You want to make sure that you're getting poison duration, chance to poison node. So this chance to poison node is huge. This chance to poison node is huge. The more access you can have to these chance to poison nodes, the better, okay? There's also a node right here that gives you phasing. You can grab this a little bit earlier if you want to, just to make leveling feel a little bit better as well. Then the rest of this tree is pretty self-explanatory. You have a lot of life, you have a lot of ES, you have a lot of mana, and you have a lot of reservation. So we have Sovereignty down here, we have Fatal Toxins, and the big thing is once we get to Perfect Agony, and this another chance to poison node here. This is the wrong thing. Someone put this here. That's not what it is. This is a 10% chance to poison with 4% dot multi. All right. And that's basically how this tree works, okay? It's pretty easy to understand. The main thing is you just have to, you're going to have to use your brain, okay? It's not as easy just following a path of building. You're going to have to see, oh, this node gives me much more benefit to my character right now, so I'm taking that node. There's going to be a lot of thinking here and a lot of general ideas, okay? But what I did do is I made a path of building, okay? Back to the disclaimer again. None of this is what it's going to say on your tree, okay? This is the original path of building for what the actual tree looks like. It's not Krangled path of building. I don't think that exists. If it does, I'm not going to make a path of building in that one or download that program. Sorry, not sorry. So this will be able to give you a general idea of the structure of the build. If you have questions about progression, just go back in the video and watch that. For the actual skills itself, I have a write-up for the skills. Basically, if you get a 5 or 6 link that has the ability to be multiple greens with a blue or multiple greens with a red, like in my case, right now I have a 3 green, 1 blue, 1 red, so I'm using Cruelty and I'm using Unbound Elements with GMP, Volley, and Poison Concoction. This just gives you options of all good jewel or gems to use, okay? Thing is since we can't POB this, we don't know the actual numbers. A lot of this is just going to be generally what I know from playing a lot of Poison Concoction. Then you have the actual auras that you're going to use. Blasphemy, Despair, very nice, good quality of life, so you don't have to cast Despair all the time. Grace, hopefully make sure that you don't die. You want to make sure that you have a Jade Flask. You want to make sure that you have all of your gear has some form of evasion on it, just to get your Grace as high as possible. This is going to be a build that probably dies in some spots too, okay? There's not a lot of access to a lot of defensive layers in this general concept of this league. So one of the best things that you can do is play the game smart. If you're close to leveling, don't do a boss. If you're close to leveling, play slower, you know? If you're going to go fight a boss, make sure you level first before you go fight the boss. Very simple concepts that you want to follow. Plague Bearer, incredibly strong. Make sure you get Ink AoE attached to it. This is going to make it so your clear is crazy. Shield Charge, faster attacks, Flame Dash, pretty standard stuff here. You're shield charging through the map, and whenever you get to a place where you can't shield charge, you're flame dashing. Withering Step gives you Wither. Also, what Withering Step does is it makes it so you get Elusive, which kind of sucks because Mistwalk is actually a node that we would have had access to if they would have fixed Mistwalk like I've been asking for basically a year at this point. The problem is with Withering Step and Mistwalk, you can't have multiple elusive triggers at the same time, so they don't function at the same time. So that's why we're not taking Mistwalk. Wither Totem is here. You don't necessarily need a Wither Totem. Might be good on bosses. I'm probably not going to use it. And if we get Whispers of Doom, you're going to have Temp Chains. And that's basically how this works here. For the items, very standard stuff here. Going to be Life Resist rares. Fill in what you need for your Life Resist rares. Make sure that you have multiple life flasks because you're going to be using a lot of them. Make sure that you have your life flasks are transmuted. Make sure you have as high levels of life from the flask as possible, okay? Because that's just how poison concoction works. If you need to understand that more, just read what the gem actually says. The node stuff isn't very complex here. Just a little disclaimer. I've only played this up to T5 maps so far in level 75. Now it is very strong. It feels very good. It honestly doesn't feel that much different than normal poison concoction. And there's a world where this might be stronger than normal poison concoction going towards endgame. I'm not 100% sure, okay? One of the biggest things that we can do here, though, is we can get jewels a lot on our tree. Jewels are going to be very good because you can literally make the jewels anything that you want. Life, crit multi, life, crit chance, life, damage over time, life res if you need more res. And since we have access to so many jewel slots, it's just one of those things that you know will be a good slot that you get once you actually get access to those jewels. So hopefully this wasn't too rambly. If you have any questions, I'll still be able to comment to you guys in the comments below. But basically this is how this is going to work. That's how it's going to follow. And hopefully this makes sense. If it doesn't, just follow the POB and blindly copy it. And hopefully that'll work out for you. If you like the video, leave a like. If you like my content, hit that subscribe button. Have a good one.